Time to start talking about Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4, and I wanted to make a new video, and I haven't seen anyone talk about this yet, so I wanted to be one of the first to talk about what I would like to see in the next game. And if they do make one for next year, this game is only about a year old, and we're going to be going into its second year for next year, and I'm hoping that they make some changes to this game, because this was the most grindy kart racer game that I played from the series for Nickelodeon Kart Racers. I did not play Nicktoons Racing, but I did some digging and some research. Plankton was a mystery character, and he's one of the characters that I would like to see make it into the game. You guys could share some of the characters and some of the things that you would like to see in the new Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 if they decide to make one. We might even get a completely different game. We just don't know which direction they're heading in. Since we got DreamWorks this year, they might end up making something completely different, a whole new DreamWorks platform fighter. Never know. But if we do get one, I have a giant list of things that I want to see, just some changes and some things that I didn't really like about this game. And the one thing that was bugging me the most, outside of, I'm about to get ready to get into the online first, the crossplay. I'm surprised we don't have crossplay in this day and age. Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2 has crossplay. How come we can't get it for this game? Again, it's like Disney Speedstorm doing the crossplay. Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 will be even better for the community if it had crossplay, because it was so difficult trying to find players. It's difficult trying to find players today. I'm just gonna go into the scrambles, but you don't want to come into a lobby, and this is what the status or the state of the game is, because you can't find players to play with online. And say, for example, I didn't have anybody unlocked for the online, and I'm trying to find people to play with. The fact that this game doesn't have crossplay, I'm not going to be able to find players. I did run into one other player who's in that the free race, but that's just one player. How do you know how long that player's going to end up staying in the match, in the lobby, if they start losing, and after a while, and then they just see how many stars you have just at the bottom other than the username? This is probably going to scare them away, and they'll leave, and they won't probably want to play and keep on losing and losing, because the winning in this game was so important. See, I was trying to find people. This was a big issue. So that's the major thing I'm looking for is crossplay. I hope that they implement it. So this is just something short and sweet. Someone that I did run into the free race mode, and I'm going to say something else that I wanted to take from the first game. The very first Nickelodeon Kart Racers, not Nicktoons Racing, Nickelodeon Kart Racers, the very first game, what I liked, it had team race. I would like to see that come back so we can do team race with the crossplay. Imagine how fun that'll be. Team race with crossplay, being able to play with friends, and I could host my own lobby and just play with everybody. So I think crossplay is something that is much needed for the next game for sure. It's something else, but outside of the online and having to win the matches, the unlockables. When you start playing this game, you can't really be able to unlock characters unless you're winning. But then on top of that, it's a big giant secret trying to unlock some of these characters. You don't even know how to unlock them, and then unless someone tells you how to unlock some of these characters, it's just laughable at this point, because it's just a secret. When you start playing the game, you'll never get the characters, and you're just playing the same mode. You think you just have to keep on winning and winning and playing the scrambles over and over, but it's a big mystery, because some of these two characters like Raphael and Donatello, they're a lot behind certain modes where you have to win. Arena for Raphael and the time trials for Donatello, because if you're not winning in the arena, it's just a whopping amount of times. It's just grind. You gotta keep on playing it 72 times. It just seems so weird with just the numbers for the unlockables that they made and came out with for this game. I hope they just let you be able to purchase these characters from the currency. See at the top or the bottom left corner with the slime tokens. If they make those come back, I'm sure they probably will return. You could purchase the characters using the in-game currency, or just playing and participating in the cups, just like they did for DreamWorks All-Star Kart Racing. The same unlockable requirements they did for DreamWorks, I want them to do for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4, instead of just having to grind it online and just try to figure out how to find some of these characters. It took people quite some time to try to figure out how to get Cindy and Helga being the only racer that's unlocked, that's locked behind the online wins, that's not a good look. And then on top of that, this I just keep on saying, it puts the pressure on the player when you start playing, where you come onto online. Well, all I have to do is play online. It's not about that. You have to win the matches, and if you're not winning, you're not gonna ever be able to get Helga and some of these other characters that were locked behind online wins, like the crew members from the likes of Grandma Gertie and things like that, who I think is probably gonna be a playable. But I'm gonna get into characters in a little bit for a character wish list and some of the things that I want to talk about more of. But it's a major problem. The online unlockables and just having trouble trying to find players. Some of these characters were locked behind certain modes. Even Angelica was in the arena. So I'm just really surprised. And just not even just the Chiefs. Some of these crew members were really tough to really get access to. Judy was like 90 plus wins in the arena, if you could believe that. Did you see what I mean? It's just the grindy unlockables, and then winning all into one was a major issue, plus the lack of crossplay, the missing crossplay in this game. And I hope that there's no online unlockables where you have to keep on winning over and over, and then we have crossplay to make it easier so people can play and be able to have fun and enjoy the game. So we're gonna back out of this. I'm gonna come back to this in a little bit, but I like the boss battles that they added, and I want this to make a return. The challenges, maybe we can get more bosses. I hope it's not just 6 all over again. Maybe it'll be able to be more bosses that we'll be able to go against and race against, and a lot. See how these characters, Squidward through Potter Toastman, Squidward, April, Ablina, Jenny, and Gerald, and PTM, they were all unlocked when you beat them in the race. They can do that as well. That's it. It's just a simple unlockable, because you know how to unlock that character. You have to beat them in the race. So that'll be helpful for the game, for the new installment. I want to see actual DLC. And I want to back this out now. I'm going to back it into the garage. The DLC basically for this game, for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3 Slime Speedway, was Zuko and Eastman Raphael. This is something that I'm hoping that they don't really do. See how Zuko's an actual real racer, unlike Eastman Raphael. He says the same thing. He has the same lines as the original Raphael, and then the same thing goes with Purple Reptar. But the DLC was just Zuko and Eastman Raphael. You get the slime wheels, as you can see, in that slime pipe, the slime exhaust pipes that you can see on the bike in the back. You can also get Fire Lord Ozai, you get Fire Lord Ozai and Shredder. Let's see if I can find them. Shredder, Fire Lord Ozai, they were all DLC and all part of the DLC pack. But after that, the Turbo Pack itself, I should say, the Turbo Pack was the DLC for Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. After that came out and the game launched, there was no other plans that came out. No post-launch content, and then there was no other additional patches. Now, that's what I'm also just throwing in here. I want to see DLC for new characters to get in, and then some actual patches so some of these problems and glitches can get addressed, because this game has so many glitches. Even with the boosters, I have them, the infinite online boosters where you just go super fast and no one can catch up to you. Some of those issues shouldn't be happening, and those, the glitches with the AI getting stuck, falling into the map, and just not being able to move and glitching out completely. And even with somebody that's in second place ends up beating you in first place somehow, when you make it to the finish line, some of those problems existed and never got fixed. Someone in second place that's really close up and close by can end up getting gifted first place and end up winning the match. That's something else that I didn't really like about this game, and just some of these issues that still remain that never got fixed. And even other platforms, separate platforms out there, the Nintendo Switch, I'll say, for example, has all different types of issues with frame rate and all that kind of stuff that I didn't even have, because I have the PS5 version of Nickelodeon Kart Racers 3. Some of those issues needs to be addressed, and I'm hoping that they do additional patches to take care of the game, so there's no performance issues or just less issues, and the game can run smoothly and people can actually have a chance to complete time trials and things like that. Now, another additional thing that I want to throw in here See how we had Eastman Raphael and Purple Reptar, for example? These should have been alternate costumes. Maybe we'll get alternate costumes for these racers or playable racers in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4. I would like to see these two character slots. Eastman Raphael saying the same thing, and then also Purple Reptar, who's no different than the original version. They have the same stats and they sound the same. The only difference, and the same thing goes for the OG Raphael, they say the same thing. And the only difference outside of the only difference is just the color. There's just a different color, same character, same voice lines, and it's just a different character. That's it. Purple Reptar and Eastman Raphael shouldn't be separate characters because they're the same. Now, if I'm putting them both in, they should have some kind of difference. At least a difference in stats. If they're going to sound the same and look different from a color palette swap or a skin, change the stats, even if they do sound the same, so it makes them different. Because they did it right with Camper Patrick and Camper SpongeBob. They're two different versions of SpongeBob and Patrick from the past in a whole different era, but they sound different. They have different stats, and they're two completely different characters. SpongeBob and Camper SpongeBob, and Patrick and the Camper Patrick himself are all different. That's what they should have did, and I hope they do something like that instead of just having them come out as separate slots. They could have did something different. Two other additional characters, other characters could have got in my honest opinion. So if they do something like this, they should be alternate costumes instead of separate slots. So now we're going to start talking about characters for the rest of the video. New reps. And it's so weird, I wanted to start with the series. Wild Thornberries is nowhere to be found to be in this game. Unpopular opinion, JoJo Siwa is one of my favorite characters in the game. And if she does return, I wouldn't mind. At least it beats Eastman Raphael and Purple Reptar that has no actual difference whatsoever. Still don't know why she was mute the whole time. So maybe she'll probably return. But Wild Thornberries, what I was just trying to get into, all new reps. Wild Thornberries is nowhere to be found. They're not a playable racer. They're not. They don't have any sort of references in the game whatsoever. They're not crew members. They don't even have a paint. So A Savvy references has something to do with Lincoln Loud's favorite comic book hero, A Savvy from the Loud House. They don't have any sort of references for the Wild Thornberries, and they had actual characters back in that old Nicktoons racing, but they never ever made it back in Nickelodeon Kart Racers 1, 2, and 3 from this game. So I would like to see Wild Thornberries make it. They were an All-Star Brawl, the first game and the second game. How come they never even bother even trying to add them for this kind of series for kart racers? So I would like to see Wild Thornberries. This is a reach. I want to see Fairly Odd Parents, and I think they have a better chance getting into a racing game. Hopefully they do. Fairly Odd Parents, already talked about Wild Thornberries. Rocket Power, I love. No one talks much about Rocket Power. It's underrated. A modern series, I think Nickelodeon picks like Big Nate has a great chance of being a playable. I think Nickelodeon will go for them. Rock, Paper, Scissors, just some of the new shows. Monster High, just some of the new reps that I would like to see make it in, be playable. How about returning cut characters like Tommy Pickles, Angelica, that's right here on the screen, could be playable. Heifer, see what I mean? Because he was playable in the second game. Shredder himself was also playable, but got moved and switched over to a crew member. He could be playable, unlockable. Let's get some of these characters to make a return. Tommy, Shredder, Angelica, and Heifer. And then crew members. Just to wrap up, crew members becoming racers who never were playable. And it's so different. It's so different for the likes of Plankton. I thought he was like on the other side. Plankton was a mystery character in Nicktoons Racing, but he never became a playable. From the first game, Kart Racers 1, 2, and 3, he was always, 2 and 3 at least, he was always a chief. maybe he'll be a playable, since he's a playable fighter in Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, maybe they'll make him a playable character in the next game. And Mr. Krabs, he can probably be a playable character who's part of the crew member. And then Nickelodeon pushed for Grandma Gertie in All-Star Brawl 2. I wouldn't be surprised if she also becomes a playable racer. I wouldn't also mind Phoebe. And then other characters I really like, the Real Monster series, Ickis and Crumb can be playable racers for the tracks. And then outside of Lincoln Loud and Lucy Loud, how about Lynn Loud or maybe one of the other Loud House members that are also crew members in this game? I would like to see that. Maybe some of the other Loud House characters can become playable. And I'm sure fans would like that. Loud House fans would love to see more Loud House characters playable. Vlad Plasmius, who's also a crew member. He's a major boss. So, and then speaking of that, they can probably turn it into like a story mode. Something like that. Make a little story mode, character interactions. Vlad Plasmius can get involved and be one of the bosses that you can take on and race to the finish in the Ghost Zone. Hugh Neutron also could be a playable. Jimmy and Hugh Neutron, I wouldn't be surprised to see both of them. Carl could be playable. Sheen. It's just so many characters. It's so many good characters that could be playable racers when you start playing the game. Mrs. Puff, I wouldn't be surprised. They got all this roster is just so huge with all the potential for racers to become playable. I really would love to see a story mode with these character interactions to close out. It's just perfect. It seemed like it'll be fitting. We had those little cutscenes, but that just wasn't enough. It was just minimum. But see what they did to All-Star Brawl 2 with those stories and those cutscenes and those unique voice lines and interactions. They can do something like that for the Nickelodeon Kart Racers 4 to give it a story. And you can unlock characters from it that way and play in the game, getting slime tokens and buying characters from the garage. But that's everything I would like to see. I didn't want to make it too long, but it's just so many things that they can do. Hopefully they'll consider doing all these. Crossplay can definitely be important. No online unlockables, and then all new reps. And then some of the characters that didn't make it and got switched over and cut out completely, like Tommy and all them, they could become playable too. And the more, the better. Because the bigger roster, and then they can do post-launch content, come out with paid DLC, people will start supporting the game. And they'll keep on playing it, and then people will be able to play each other and find each other because they'll have crossplay. And let's just say, for example, if they do online unlockables, the crossplay will make it much easier.